Hey, welcome back to Hustle to Harmony. I'm your host, Johanna, and today we are going into stage 2 of the Sacred Interruption process. It's called The Cracks Begin. If stage 1 was about performing success while slowly burning out inside, stage 2 is when that performance starts to become impossible to maintain. This is when you start having thoughts like, I don't know how much longer I can do this, and actually mean it. This is where that mask starts to slip, and it's exactly what needs to happen, as awful as that sounds. Stage 2 is when your body and your nervous system basically stage an intervention on your performance era lifestyle. You wake up, and for the first time in maybe years, you can't push through the exhaustion with more coffee. You sit down to work and you feel this overwhelming sense of dread inside your usual adrenaline rush. Someone asks you how you're doing, and instead of automatically saying, great, you actually pause and think, how am I doing? And that answer scares you. These cracks start really small. Maybe you snap at somebody who didn't deserve it. Maybe you cry after a meeting for no reason, like you just can't explain it. Maybe you just sit at your computer and stare at your to-do list, feeling completely overwhelmed by things that used to feel manageable. You are still showing up. You're still getting things done, but it's taking everything you have. And for the first time, you're starting to wonder if everything you have is enough. What makes stage 2 so intense is that all these emotions that you've been suppressing during this performance era, they start to leak. I call these the 3 emotional leaks, and they usually show up in this order. Leak number 1 is exhaustion. Not just physical tiredness, but it's bone deep, soul level exhaustion that sleep can't fix. You rest for hours and you still feel drained. Maybe you're sleeping 10 hours a night. Maybe you take a nap in the middle of the day and you wake up and you're like, ugh, it wasn't enough. Because you've been running on empty for so long that your nervous system doesn't remember how to actually recharge. You start to notice that you don't have energy for things that you used to enjoy. Hanging out with friends might feel like work. Hobbies might feel like obligations. Even watching TV feels like too much effort. Leak number 2 is irritability. Everything starts to annoy you. The way people chew, traffic, emails that could have been text messages, your phone buzzing, normal life stuff that never bothered you before suddenly feels unbearable. But here's what's really happening. Your nervous system is so overwhelmed that it's in constant fight or flight mode. Everything feels like a threat because you don't have the emotional capacity to process normal daily interactions. You might find yourself thinking, when did everyone become so demanding? But people haven't changed. Your capacity to handle the normal requests has shrunk because you've been giving away all your emotional energy. Leak number 3 is resentment. This one's the hardest to admit. You start feeling resentful towards your business, towards your clients, sometimes even your family and your closest friends. The things that used to motivate you now feel like burdens that you just can't escape. You're thinking, I built this business to have more freedom, so why do I feel more trapped than ever? You look at other entrepreneurs who seem happy, and you're like, what is wrong with me that I can't enjoy my success? The resentment isn't because you're ungrateful or you're weak. It's because you've been saying yes to everybody else's needs while ignoring your own for so long that your inner self is staging a revolt. This is where nervous system mapping becomes critical. Your body has been trying to tell you something for months, maybe even years, but you've been too busy performing to listen to it. I want you to map your stress signals. Start paying attention to how stress actually shows up in your body. For some people, it's tension in their shoulders. For others, it's a tight chest, or maybe you clench your jaw, right? Some people get headaches, some people have stomach issues. But start noticing where you're gripping, right? I know for me, I'm constantly holding my stomach, right? And my shoulders get really high. Every once in a while when it gets really bad, I remember when it was really, really bad, my jaw hurt so bad. Like I had a constant pain in my jaw, and I realized that I was like holding my teeth together. So just start poking around, sit quiet and poke around and say, where do things hurt? Maybe you've had a stiff neck for a very long time. right? Just start seeing, oh, if I relax my stomach, how often do I hold my stomach in? Pay attention and map that out, okay? Your body has its own language and it's been trying to communicate with you. Stage 2 is when you finally start to hear it. Track when you feel the most drained and when you feel the most energized. You might discover that certain clients, certain types of work, even certain times of day consistently deplete you, while others might restore you. And it might not be so much restoration while we're figuring this out in the beginning, depending on how far you've gone, okay? So don't feel like, oh my God, everything's terrible. Just recognize it and then we can start working on it. This isn't about judgment, it's about information. Your nervous system knows the difference between sustainable challenge and unsustainable stress, even when your brain doesn't. Start noticing what sets off your emotional leaks. Is it a certain kind of email? Is it email in general, right? Is it specific people? A particular situation? Maybe you might realize that like you always feel resentful after client calls when you say yes to scope creep. Or that you always feel irritable after working late 3 nights in a row. Or it's a certain networking group or a certain Facebook group or a certain person that constantly pops up. A trigger isn't a character flaw. It's a data point showing you where your boundaries have been crossed. Stage 2 is really about giving yourself permission to stop normalizing exhaustion. For so long, you've told yourself that being tired is just part of being successful, that irritability is just stress, that resentment is just a phase you'll get through once things slow down. But stage 2 is when you start to realize that things aren't going to slow down on their own. You're going to have to make them slow down. And that feels terrifying because you've built an entire identity around being the person who can handle everything. Permission to stop normalizing exhaustion looks like maybe acknowledging that constant tiredness isn't something that you should be proud of. Admitting that irritability might be trying to tell you something important. Recognizing that resentment is often just unexpressed boundaries. You're not going to get lazy or lower your standards. We're going to recognize that your current standards are unsustainable and that sustainable success requires a different approach. I need to be really honest with you guys about something. Stage 2 is where a lot of people make their biggest mistakes. Some people will panic when they start feeling these emotional leaks and try to go back to stage 1. They push harder, they work more, they try to perform their way back to feeling fine, and it usually leads to complete burnout or a total breakdown. Other people swing the opposite extreme. They decide everything is wrong and they blow up their entire life. They quit their business, they end relationships, they make dramatic changes based on emotional overwhelm that they're feeling from stage 2. Both of these reactions are totally understandable, but neither is helpful. Stage 2 is not telling you to quit everything or to push harder. It's telling you to pause and listen. It's your nervous system's way of saying, hey, we need to talk about how we're doing things around here. The goal of stage 2 isn't to fix everything immediately. We're developing awareness and starting to honor what our body and emotions are telling us. So how are we going to move through stage 2 without making things worse? First, validate what you're experiencing. The exhaustion is real. The irritability makes total sense. And the resentment is information. Second, you're going to start small. Do not overhaul your entire life. Just start paying attention. Notice where you feel the most drained. Notice what triggers your irritability. Notice when resentment shows up. Third, practice what I call micro recovery. You can't take a 3-week vacation right now. I'm so sorry. But you can take 3 deep breaths. You can't restructure your entire business today, but you can say no to one thing that doesn't serve you. Stage 2 is preparation for the changes that are coming, not the changes themselves. If you're in stage 2 right now, you're feeling exhausted, you're irritable, and maybe you're a little resentful, I want you to know that this is normal. This is your system finally telling you the truth about what's sustainable and what's not. The cracks aren't a sign that you're broken. They're a sign that you're human and that the way that you've been operating isn't honoring your humanity. Your nervous system is not betraying you. It's trying to save you, so listen to it. If you want to talk further about this, you don't want to wait another week before the next episode comes out, just shoot me a message. All the links to find me are down below in the show notes. I will see you guys next time.